And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Katie Greifeld, taking you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, to join us now. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, our partnership with YouTube here on this Thursday afternoon. A Thursday trading session, Carol Massar, that started off really encouraging on the back of some good earnings out of Micron, an interesting investor day by Qualcomm, but a lot of those gains fading into the closing bell.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't hurt that once again we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. We had a ship struck there as an oil supertankers were turning back again. There was a ship hit by an unknown projectile in the Strait of Hormuz, according to UK maritime trade operations. We saw WTI crude also spike once again, going up as much as 3% above $70 a barrel, still up about 2.4%. Just a reminder that we haven't kind of tied everything up when it comes to that war between the U.S. and Iran.
Yeah, a good reminder of the macro affecting the trade as well. Romaine, I want to go back to what you said about Micron and the memory chip makers pushing indexes higher. It's interesting seeing that play out when you have pretty much every name in the Mag 7 lower today, led lower by Apple as a result of them coming out with those price increases.
Yeah, I mean, basically 15 to 20% on a lot of those iMacs and HomePods. Don't forget, Microsoft actually reported that it was going to raise prices on its Xbox.
Yeah.
So some of their models as much as 60%. And then I was just going down the list. I mean, it's a who's who of consumer electronics companies, from Lenovo to HP to Sony with the PlayStation to Valve with the Steam Deck.
Fortunately, Carol already has the new PlayStation and Xbox.
Well, you know, I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be an awful Christmas for a lot of kids, and adults for that matter, too. But nevertheless, we talk about this idea that one company's benefit can be another company's loss. On the day, we're seeing a lot of losses across the board. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is holding on to some of its gains here. It is up about 70 points as we wait for these numbers to settle. That's going to be about 0.1%. Interesting on the S&P 500, it had oscillated between gains and losses for much of the day. It looks like the closing number is going to be 73.5801. That basically is unchanged on the day. The Nasdaq Composite is going to close in the red, down about 0.5%. The Nasdaq 100 will close in the green, up about 0.8%, even though it opened today more than 2%. And the Russell 2000, Carol, adding 21 points, or 0.7%.
All right, like I normally do, back to the S&P 500 we go. Those large caps, Katie, you've got, despite kind of a meh day, it feels like, certainly for the S&P 500, when all is said and done here at the close, you still have 305 names to the upside, gaining ground on this Thursday, 198 losing ground.
Yeah, it's a really interesting breakdown when we think about the haves and have-nots and all of it adding up to the S&P 500 finishing pretty much unchanged on the day. But when you take a look at the sector level, you had 6 sectors managing to finish in the green, led by industrials. Healthcare also having a pretty good day, materials too. On the other side, though, in terms of what didn't have such a great Thursday, consumer discretionary down about 1.7% as a sector. A lot of that comes down to what we were seeing in TJX, rock stores, and consumer staples as well, Carol.
All right, so let's go to some of the individual gainers. And I got to talk about Micron. Closing at, I believe, a record here today. The stock finishing with a gain of about 15.7% at its highs. It almost hit a 20% gain, so backing off some of that. We know surging here after the company issued a quarterly sales forecast that exceeded Wall Street estimates, signaling that an AI-fueled growth run remains strong. It has secured 16 strategic customer segments agreements, which suggests that the company can kind of mitigate what we often talk about in the semi space, the boom and bust cycles that have plagued, in particular, the memory chip industry. This stock is now up about 328% year to date. So check out all the superlatives in terms of the numbers when that company reported. So that one was higher. Another chip name in the space, something that Romaine actually caught up with the CEO at Qualcomm today, along with our Ed Ludlow. That stock also rallying at its highs, up more than 11%, finishing the day with a much smaller gain, but still up about 3.7%. That's after the chip maker forecast annual sales of more than $15 billion from AI components in data centers by fiscal 2029. There's a lot to that report, but be sure to check out the interview that Ed and Romaine did with the CEO, Cristiano Amon. Really good stuff there. Hey, I also want to just show you the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index. No surprise to see that average, thanks to Micron and Qualcomm and others. It was up about 3.6% in today's session. You had 21 of the 30 names in the index higher for the trade. So just something to point out there. Hey, and then for something different, I just want to take a look at airlines. If we flip on over to that board, and that group up almost 5%. If you look at the S&P Super Composite Airlines Industry Index, finishing the day with a gain of about 2.2%, rallying for 5 days in a row, up about 13% in that time frame. I also want to bring up JETS, the U.S. Global JETS ETF, which is a bigger picture of the global airline space, and that one was up about 1.5%. It's something that you really look at when you want to look at the biggest airline stocks. It has moved up to its highest level since September of 2018, outpacing the S&P 500 year to date. But keep in mind, the index has gone barely nowhere since the end of 2019. But nonetheless, moving up today. And of course, we know a lot of it has to do with it looks like things easing between Iran and certainly the U.S. We've seen energy prices come down. But again, today, we were reminded, ain't all over yet, everybody.
The question is, what is the path forward for mega cap tech? In fact, every single name in the Mag 7 was lower today. I want to home in on Apple. Shares of Apple having their worst day going all the way back to April of 2025. You guys remember that? Yeah. That was post-Liberation Day, when shares of Apple actually fell more than 6.12%. That's how they closed today. What was that?
I was sitting right here.
I was sitting right, well, here, but in a different studio.
Exactly there?
Not. I guess Romaine was exactly there.
Were you really there?
Everybody knows the story right now about Apple, and that's its hiking prices on Vision Pro, home devices, iMacs, iPads, and some other home devices because of that memory chip shortage. We talked to Mandeep Singh of Bloomberg Intelligence a little earlier, and he said there has to be demand destruction with a move like this. If you raise prices 15 to 20%, and you're selling the same thing, you're not going to sell as many of those things. So that's just economics 101. Shares of Apple getting hit today to the tune.
I do wonder, just not to be pedantic, but do you think, because some of these price hikes don't take effect for a few weeks, do you think there's going to be like a rush to buy?
Yes, I do.
Maybe we see,
I think there absolutely will be. Kind of like there is, a lull ahead of a new iPhone launch in September. So yeah, I think consumers are pretty smart about this stuff, and Apple's also really smart about when they time these things, because the fall is the most important selling period ahead of the holiday season. Hey, speaking of the AI boom in chips, Cerebras Systems, keep an eye on this stock. Shares tumbling today, falling to the tune of 7.5%, although it was lower. It was on track for a record 2-day session loss. The company did give that disappointing annual sales outlook. That wasn't yesterday. That was the day before. It fell as much as 12% intraday today, traded at its lowest level since its May launch. Shares close to 50% below that record high of more than $300 that was hit on its first day of public trading. At that time, it was before SpaceX, so it was the largest IPO of the year. And finally, we haven't been talking about this that much, except on the crypto show. Look at what Bitcoin has been doing. And when Bitcoin moves, Strategy, the company formerly known as MicroStrategy, moves. Bitcoin taking a tumble today. Shares of MicroStrategy down today by 9.4%. Fears are growing that the Bitcoin buying machine is beginning to seize up, fueling the latest leg of Bitcoin's sell-off. Strategy shares down today by 9.4%.
A quick check in yields, a little bit of, let's just say, low volume, low activity there. A drop on the 2-year yield by about 2 basis points, a little bit higher on the 30-year yield, up about 2 basis points, as, of course, more focus right now on the micro rather than the macro.
Hey guys, not sure what maybe you're doing for the summer, or if you've got kids and maybe what they need to do for the summer, but Alpha School offering...
Alpha?
Alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha, like an alpha dog.
Okay.
You know what that is, right, Romaine?
No, go ahead.
Alpha School is offering summer classes in the Hamptons, teaching academics with AI and afternoon activities with guests like chefs and athletes, $4,500 a week. Easy
To do
peasy.
what? I'm sorry? You just hang out with chefs and athletes?
No, well, you're learning AI also. Academics with AI. Apparently they're leading.
Is it being taught by AI or is it being taught by humans?
No. I think they're teaching it to kids.
Okay.
Why do you get so
I'm actually relatively familiar with this. This is an interesting concept. I'll leave it at that.
The whole school is actually. It's a little controversial and it's got a lot of attention.